くりレ夢ムです。ゆっくりマリサだぜ。
Hi, Raimo. Hi, Marissa. Hey guys. The job you can't tell anyone you applied for.
ゆっくりしていってね。
Section 1. Hook. Imagine applying for a job where, if you tell anyone you applied, you've already failed in a LinkedIn post. No excited text to your best friend. No mentioning it at dinner. Just you, alone, filling out a form on a government website, knowing that somewhere, people you've never met are already beginning to quietly investigate every corner of your life. This is MI6, Britain's secret intelligence service, the real-life agency behind James Bond. One of the most secretive, most storied, and most misunderstood intelligence organizations on the planet. Every year, thousands of people apply. Most are rejected before they get past the first screen. The ones who survive are put through a selection process so thorough, so psychologically demanding, and so deliberately mysterious that many who complete it still aren't entirely sure what was being tested as. Oh, what does it actually take to join MI6? And what are they really looking for? Underneath all the secrecy. That's the case we're opening today. Section 2. The story begins. Let's start with the history. Because MI6 is not just a hiring mystery. It's an institution with a very specific, very complicated past, and that past shapes everything about who they want and who they reject. MI6, officially known as the Secret Intelligence Service, or SGS, was formally established in 1909. Its mission then, as now, gather intelligence from foreign countries to protect British interests. Human intelligence. Real people, in real places, finding out real things that hostile powers don't want Britain to know. For its first several decades, MI6 barely existed as a public institution. The British government didn't officially acknowledge it at all. If you worked there, you told people you worked for the Foreign Office. The agency itself was a secret. It wasn't until 1994 that MI6 was even formally acknowledged in British law. Before that, legally speaking, it didn't exist. And here is where the hiring history gets genuinely strange. For most of the 20th century, MI6 didn't really have a formal application process. You didn't apply to MI6. You were tapped. Someone who already worked there, or knew someone who did, would quietly approach a promising person, usually at Oxford or Cambridge. Usually someone who came from the right background, knew the right people, belonged to the right clubs. It was a closed network. Secret inside a secret. The problem? That system produced some of the most catastrophic intelligence failures in British history. The Cambridge 5.5 British intelligence officers, Kim Philby, Donald Maclean, Guy Burgess, Anthony Blunt, and John Cairncross, recruited at Cambridge University, vouched for by trusted colleagues, admitted to the highest levels of British intelligence. All 5 were Soviet spies. For decades, they passed classified information directly to Moscow. They burned agents. They compromised operations. Philby alone is believed responsible for the deaths of dozens of Western operatives. And they got in because someone trusted someone who went to the right school. After the Cold War, MI6 began rethinking everything. And they opened the door, slowly, cautiously, to the public. In 1994, for the first time in its history, MI6 published a job advertisement. That advertisement changed everything about how British intelligence recruited. And the process they built is unlike anything else in the world. Section 3. The evidence. Let's examine the process itself. Because the evidence of what MI6 actually does, and what it's looking for, is hiding in plain sight. If you know where to look. Phase 1. The application. You go to the MI6 website. It looks, honestly, fairly normal. There's a careers section, job listings, an online application form. But from the moment you click submit, something different begins. The very first instruction on the application page is a warning. You are told, clearly, explicitly, not to discuss your application with anyone other than a spouse or partner. Not friends, not parents, not colleagues. If you post about it online, you're done. This isn't bureaucratic caution. It's the first test. MI6 needs people who can keep secrets. Not secrets they've been briefed about in a classified environment. Ordinary secrets, in ordinary life, under ordinary social pressure. If you can't resist telling your roommate that you applied to MI6 for 6 months while the process runs, how will you handle actually classified information for the next 20 years? The application itself asks about your background, your education, your language skills, your work history. But it also asks questions that feel slightly unusual for a job application. Questions about your values, about situations where you faced ethical pressure, about your relationship with rules and authority, and then you wait, sometimes for months. MI6 operates on its own timeline. Phase 2, the online test that if your application passes the initial screen, you're invited to a series of online assessments. Verbal reasoning, numerical reasoning, situational judgment scenarios. The situational judgment section is where things start to get distinctive. Former applicants, the ones who've spoken publicly, carefully, describe scenarios involving ethical gray areas. Not obvious questions with obvious answers. Questions where there are competing loyalties, competing duties, where doing the right thing involves a cost. A colleague reveals something concerning about a senior officer. What do? You discover information relevant to a case that you obtained in a way you shouldn't have. How do you handle it? There's no answer key posted anywhere. But people who've analyzed these tests believe MI6 is specifically looking for something that doesn't show up on standard intelligence or personality assessments. The ability to tolerate ambiguity and still make principled decisions. Intelligence work is rarely clean. The situations agents face rarely have obvious right answers. The people MI6 needs are those who can operate in moral complexity without either freezing up or abandoning their values. Phase 3, the interview. First round, pass the online tests and you're invited for an in-person interview. This is where accounts start getting genuinely interesting. Applicants describe an interview that feels, in parts, like a normal professional conversation. Your background, your motivations, your understanding of what the job actually involves. But then it shifts. Interviewers probe for inconsistencies. They circle back to things you said earlier and ask follow-up questions that suggest they already know the answer. They present scenarios and watch not just what you say, but how you think out loud. And they are, by all accounts, extraordinarily good at this. These are professional intelligence officers. Reading people is their career. They've been trained to notice the small gap between what someone says and what their face does when they say it. One former applicant described the experience as feeling like a conversation that was simultaneously friendly and being recorded at a resolution you couldn't quite perceive. Then investigators uncovered something even more unexpected. Phase 4, the assessment center. Make it past the first interview and you're invited to the MI6 Assessment Center. A multi-day evaluation that is the heart of the entire process. And this is where the mystery deepens. Because very few details have ever leaked about what actually happens inside. What we know from public statements and careful accounts. There are group exercises, individual exercises, written tasks, further interviews, psychological assessments conducted by qualified professionals. What former successful applicants have hinted at, the exercises are designed to create pressure. Not physical pressure, social and cognitive pressure. Situations where you have to perform while being watched, while managing relationships with strangers, while handling incomplete information and time constraints. If they're watching how you behave when things get difficult. Not whether you succeed at the task, but how you handle yourself when the situation is genuinely hard. One thing several former applicants have noted, MI6 doesn't seem to reward the loudest person in the group exercise. The person who dominates, who performs confidence, who makes sure everyone knows they're capable, that person does not necessarily advance. The person who listens, who synthesizes, who influences outcomes without demanding credit, that person tends to move forward. Phase 5, the vetting. Pass the assessment center and you enter the most intensive phase of all. The security vetting. In the UK, MI6 requires what's called developed vetting, the highest level of security clearance in the British government. And it goes further than almost any comparable process in the world. 10 years of personal history.
Every address you've lived at, every job you've held, every foreign trip you've taken, financial records, relationships, family members, including family members who are foreign nationals. Investigators make contact with references you provided and references you didn't provide, friends you forgot about, neighbors from years ago, former supervisors, former colleagues. They're building a picture, not of who you say you are, of who you actually are, as reflected by the people who've known you in real situations over real time. And there's something in this process that catches many applicants by surprise. MI6 actively considers applicants whose backgrounds include things other agencies might disqualify them for. Foreign heritage, family members in other countries, time spent living abroad. In the old system, the Oxford and Cambridge network, those things might raise suspicion. In the new system, they're often considered assets. Because the world MI6 operates in requires people who understand other cultures, speak other languages, can move through other environments without standing out. A diverse background isn't a red flag. It's often the point. Section 4. Theories. Now here's where the documentary gets interesting. Because despite everything we know about this process, there are deep disagreements about what MI6 is actually selecting for, and whether any process can reliably find it. Theory 1. MI6 is looking for a specific psychological profile, and the whole process is designed to find it. This is the most structured interpretation of the evidence, comfortable with ambiguity, able to build trust with strangers quickly and genuinely, motivated by something other than personal recognition. And every phase of the hiring process is calibrated to identify those traits and filter out people who fake them convincingly but don't actually have them. The strength of this theory, it's consistent with everything we see in the process. The secrecy requirement tests discretion from day one. The ambiguous scenarios test comfort with moral complexity. The group exercises test influence without ego. The weakness, psychological profiles are not destiny. People who fit the profile perfectly can still crack under real-world pressure. And the history of intelligence failures, including the Cambridge 5, who presumably fit whatever profile existed then, suggests that even well-designed systems get fooled. Theory 2. The process is designed to find loyalty above everything else. Some analysts of intelligence culture argue that the real organizing principle of MI6 hiring is not capability or even integrity in the abstract. It's institutional. Loyalty, the ability to subordinate personal judgment to organizational mission. Intelligence work sometimes requires doing things that are, on the surface, morally uncomfortable. Deceiving people, cultivating relationships under false pretenses, withholding information from friends and family indefinitely. This theory says MI6 is looking for people who will do those things when asked, reliably, without breaking down, because they believe in the mission deeply enough to carry the weight, the strength. It explains the emphasis on discretion and the long security vetting. If you're going to ask someone to keep secrets for decades, you need to know they're genuinely capable of it. The weakness, taken too far, this is exactly how institutions create the conditions for abuse. Absolute loyalty to the organization, unchecked by personal moral judgment, is how good institutions go bad. And MI6 knows this, which is why the scenarios they test seem to specifically probe for principled judgment, not blind obedience. Theory 3. No process can reliably find what MI6 needs, and they know it, the most sobering theory. And it comes from the history itself. The Cambridge 5 passed whatever vetting existed at the time. Robert Hansen, the FBI agent we mentioned in our last investigation, passed FBI vetting for 27 years. Every intelligence agency that has ever existed has been penetrated by people who passed screening designed to prevent exactly that. This theory says vetting is not a solution. It's a risk management tool. It catches the obvious cases, the people who make clear mistakes, who have visible vulnerabilities, who can't maintain a basic level of consistency under scrutiny. But a truly dedicated, patient, sophisticated person, someone who has built their entire life around being undetectable, will pass every test. The strength. This is consistent with the historical record. No vetting process has ever been perfect. The uncomfortable implication. The entire exercise might be more about creating accountability, eliminating people with obvious disqualifiers, and establishing a paper trail, than about genuinely identifying the best possible candidates. Section 5. The most likely answered, here's what the evidence actually shows. MI6 is not looking for James Bond. That's the first and most important thing to understand. The fantasy version of the intelligence officer, the one who parachutes into hostile territory, seduces enemies, shoots his way out, is not what the organization actually needs or selects for. What MI6 needs is something harder to put on a movie poster. People who are extraordinarily good at building genuine relationships with strangers under conditions of sustained deception, in service of a mission those strangers don't know about. That requires a very specific combination. High intelligence, genuine warmth, deep ethical grounding, not rules following, but actual internalized values that hold up when nobody's watching. The ability to live a double life, professionally, without it destroying you personally. And the discipline to never, not once, let something slip at the wrong moment. The hiring process exists to find that combination, or as close to it as any process can. And what's striking, when you look at how MI6 has evolved since the Cambridge 5 disaster, is how deliberately they moved away from trusting networks and toward testing behavior. The old system trusted who you knew. The new system watches what you do, the application secrecy requirement, the ambiguous ethical scenarios, the group exercise that rewards quiet influence over loud performance, the security vetting that calls people you forgot you knew. All of it is designed to observe actual behavior, not credentials, not connections, not confident self-presentation, over an extended period of time. Is it perfect? No. The historical record makes that clear, but it's the most rigorous attempt to solve an unsolvable problem, finding trustworthy people in a world where the most dangerous, untrustworthy people are specifically trained to appear trustworthy. The hidden truth of MI6 hiring process is that it's not really trying to find the perfect spy, that it's trying to find someone whose real self, the one that shows up when nobody is supposed to be watching, is someone worth trusting. Section 6. Conclusion. Here's the detail that stayed with me longest after investigating this case. When MI6 placed that first public job advertisement in 1994, it was a radical act for an institution that had spent 85 years operating in complete secrecy. The British government was essentially saying, "We acknowledge this agency exists, and we're willing to let ordinary people apply." That was genuinely new. But what's interesting is what happened to the culture inside the agency when it opened up. Officers who joined through the old network, tapped on the shoulder at Oxford, brought in through a friend of a friend, and officers who found the website, applied like anyone else, and survived the process, ended up working alongside each other. And by most accounts, the newer, more open system has produced officers who are, in certain key ways, better suited to the modern world, more diverse backgrounds, more language skills, more genuine understanding of the cultures and communities MI6 needs to operate in, less of the institutional insularity that produced disasters like the Cambridge 5. That the secrecy remains total. The vetting remains extraordinary. The mission remains dangerous and morally complex in ways most jobs never approach. But the door is open. Anyone can apply. And that, for MI6, is a revolution that's still unfolding. There's one more thing worth sitting with as we close this case. The Cambridge 5, those 5 Soviet spies at the heart of Britain's worst intelligence failure, weren't recruited by Moscow because they were bribed or blackmailed. They were true believers. They genuinely thought they were doing the right thing. They thought Western capitalism was the real threat and the Soviet Union was the future. They were wrong. Catastrophically wrong. But they believed. And here is the unsettling question that this entire investigation keeps returning to. How do you build a process that finds people with genuine, deeply held values? The kind of values that hold up under decades of pressure, when the most dangerous applicants are the ones who also have genuine, deeply held values, just different ones. MI6 has been working on that problem for over a century. They haven't solved it. Neither has anyone else.